I must consume.
Hey, g'day. I'm stuck in my house for self-isolation, so I'm gonna rate all my board games and just forget about this whole pandemic. Hey, That's My Fish is a 2 to 4 player game that can be played in about 10 minutes. There's not much more to be said about it. It can be summed up in 4 words. Hey, that's my fish. Hey, that's my fish. Hey, that's my fish. Hey, that's my fish. Hey, these are my fish. Yeah, Hey, That's My Fish is a good game. It's a solid C tier. Star Wars Frontiers is an incredibly fun 2 to 4 player deck builder. Over the course of the game you purchase better and better cards for your deck, ships or bases that lead to better and better draws. There aren't many games which have moments as satisfying as pulling a perfect hand from a crafted deck that you know will decimate the opponent. With beautifully designed cards both mechanically and artistically, the base game allows for emerging playstyles in a myriad of ways. If you're still not convinced, I recommend trying out the free Star Realms app on the App Store. It's a strong A from me for such a quick and short game.
You slump into your office chair after another long day of interviews. You've been investigating the disappearances surrounding a wealthy neighborhood.
Mansions of Madness is a wonderfully thematic horror board game experience. Throughout the scenarios, you and other investigators will enter empty mansions, decrepit docks, silent parks, and murky swamps to fight monsters and uncover a mystery. The scenarios in the game all rely on a companion app which handles monster movement, prompts, and the story, and includes some minigames and also plays some thematically appropriate spooky music. The app itself lets you be completely focused on the board gaming experience without worrying about all these small little upkeep rules and ruining your immersion. Coupled with the incredible art and the good monsters, the game is a must try for people looking to get into the hobby. Unfortunately, due to the pricey cost of the game and the limited number of scenarios available without buying the expansions, the game's going to have to stay at a B tier for me. Hive is a 2-player strategy game similar to chess, except significantly more dynamic. However, unlike chess, you don't need a board and you can teach the rules in less than 30 seconds. Let's try that now. Players take turns either moving or spawning a new bug. The game is won when you've completely surrounded the opponent's queen bee, and each insect has its own moveset. The queen bee can move one space around the outside of the hive. The beetles can either move around the hive like the queen or get on top of other pieces. Your grasshoppers can jump into gaps in a straight line, which makes them excellent for getting in or out of tricky situations. Spiders move 3 spaces around the hive, no more no less, and ants can move anywhere around the outside of the hive. Pretty fucking overpowered. Then there's the one hive rule. If moving a piece would split the hive into 2, you can't do it. And the freedom to move rule. If you can't slide your piece in there, you can't get it in there. On top of its great design, a massive draw of it is it can be played almost anywhere. To further this, the game's waterproof, so if it ever gets dirty you can just chuck it in some soapy water. It is the epitome of a game that's easy to learn but hard to master, and has some of the most simplistic but solid rules and mechanics. If you love chess, or if you're intimidated by chess, then this is definitely a game for you. Yeah, I've never played this game before. I haven't even opened it, but this British guy says it's pretty good, so C. I haven't also played Through the Desert, but those camels do kind of be looking yummy dough. Yummy dough. Yummy dough. The Logo board game is a capitalist wet dream in which consumers, the players, are forced to identify popular brands and logos. No, in all honesty, it's a pretty stock standard trivia game just themed around, products, and sometimes you have to guess a item or a product or a brand, which is a bit interesting and a bit new, but otherwise it's a pretty simple trivia game. If trivia games are up your alley, this is probably a pretty good one, but they're really not up mine, so unfortunately this one's an E. For a lot of people, Settlers Catan was their first board gaming love, and it makes sense. It's an accessible theme with an accessible set of rules, and because of that it appeals to a lot of people. It's got a great art style and it's easy enough to teach and learn, making it probably the most famous hobby board game in the world. However, like your first love, after a while you probably realise that it's not perfect. While it's undoubtedly fun, for most of us the time comes and we realise it's time to move on because Catan simply isn't right for you. The dice make the game a bit too luck-based, and you can effectively be shut out of the game if you have a bad starting placement. Also, the game pretty much plays itself in a very similar way most times. While Catan was my first board game love, I've definitely outgrown it, and 95% of the time I'd rather play anything else. Newer, more modern and shinier games with better mechanics and more varied gameplay take the spotlight away from Catan, but it'll always have a place in my heart. It's a C tier. Once in a blue moon though, it's fun to have a reminisce about the fun times we had together. Coup is a great little social deduction game, which plays best between 3 and 6 players. At the start of the game you're given 2 secret characters, which both provide you with an action unique to that character, which you can then make on your turn. However, because all the cards are secret, you can pretend to have any of the cards and use any of the character's special abilities. Of course, you will be punished if you're caught lying.
Wait, who are you? What are you doing here? Dude, get out of here.
You invited me. You wrote me into the script. I was going to help you with the split frames.
No, get out of here. I told you.
Get the fuck out of here. I'm in self-isolation.
Help me
Fuck
out.
off.
Who was that? Have you guys...
Unironically, Coup's a good party game, B tier. Codenames is a team word associations game that plays best with any group larger than 4. It's simple to teach, quick to play, and for the most part works incredibly well as a party game. Well, it's a great party game for the guessers, but a stress session for the clue giver. Due to the design of the board game, there's often way more pressure on the clue giver than anyone else, who often isn't allowed to interact with his or her team, and often takes a massive brunt of the slander.
Hurry up, come on. You are
Hurry
the
up,
stupidest
hurry up,
human
hurry up,
being I've
hurry up,
ever
hurry
met
up,
in my
come on,
life. Just
come on,
go.
It's
Hurry
easy.
up.
1 and 2, go.
This
What
is
are you, some kind of
hard.
stupid
Just
monkey
say a
brain?
word.
Ooh,
That's
ooh,
it. That's
Okay, so I have to get my team to say this without saying this, and without making them think I'm thinking this. But they also can't think I'm thinking this, and if they think this...
Easy. 1 and 2, go.
Fine. Instrument 1. Oh, it's organ. It's not. You are dumb as eggs.
If you've got the right group of people, Codenames is a B for the guessers, and a C for the question master. Lords of Waterdeep is a 2 to 5 player worker placement game. In it you play, unsurprisingly, as a Lord of Waterdeep, recruiting mages, warriors, clerics and rogues in your tavern to complete quests and earn victory points for you. The mechanics are tight, the gameplay is easy to pick up, the theme, held together by wonderfully illustrated art and a beautifully intricate game board, is exciting. The variety in the playable lords, the quests, the intrigue cards and the building you can build give the game an incredibly long shelf life. What's also worth mentioning is the fact that the game plays beautifully at any player count. Any number from 2 to 5 players runs very smoothly. It doesn't feel unbalanced or sluggish, unlike other 2 to 5 player games. It might be heresy, but I honestly believe this game serves as a better intro to board gaming than Catan, Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride. Lords and A tier, a very strong recommendation. Mysterium is a mystery-themed picture association game that apparently goes for exactly 42 minutes. One player takes the role of the ghost, who is attempting to tell the rest of the players, the psychics, how he or she was murdered. The psychics will receive dreams from the ghost in the form of vague picture cards, which they'll then have to use to guess the murderer, the location of the murder, and the object used to murder the now ghost. Mechanically, the game is very similar to Codenames and Dixit, while thematically, the game is almost a modern-day Clue. Due to the intentional vagueness of the cards, or the dreams provided to the ghost, creative solutions are almost always necessary, and the psychics will have to use some intuition to figure out what the ghost was implying. Why did I get a rat on some cheese and some books? This one kind of looks like a librarian, so maybe it's her. It's got a rat, so maybe it's the hunter. Maybe it's the chef because of Ratatouille. Yeah, I reckon it's that.
Oh yeah, man. Ratatouille. Yes.
Because the game is too swingy for a competitive game and too long for a party game, I found it hard to find a good group of people to play with. While I reckon this game has the potential to be a mainstay in my collection, until I find that perfect group of people to play with, it's gonna have to stay at a C for me. If you like this, or you like this, or you like this, you're gonna love this. Eclipse New Dawn for the Galaxy is a space epic where you play as a spacefaring civilization looking to reclaim the galactic throne. The board game itself is a 4X, which means you can gain victory points from exploring, exterminating, expanding, and exploiting. Over the course of the game, you'll settle planets, build an economy, negotiate diplomatic relationships, and research techs for your civilization. One of the best parts of this game is the shipbuilding mechanic. Let's say you want better guns for your ships, but at the moment you can only put garbo guns on your ships because you haven't researched any techs. If you do manage to research the plasma gun tech, you can now chuck them on any of your ships. Or you could manage to get better armor, or more health, or a high chance to hit opponent ships, or shields for your ships. This leads to a beautiful arms race happening where everyone is trying to build ships that counter one another or still maintain a functioning economy. The game is designed in a way where it feels like there is never one optimal move, but rather a constellation of potential routes you can take to victory. Because of that, it's gold. While the game is undoubtedly the heaviest game I own, the beautifully simplistic iconography, as well as the relatively simple rule structure, has allowed me to introduce the game to anyone who's keen for it without them getting overwhelmed. I could honestly go on for 10 minutes about why this game is so great.
Nice.
It's a good game. I'm feeling a light 9 to a strong 10. Poker is an incredibly simple bluffing game. On your turn, you pass a critter from your hand to another player. Now you have to tell them what the critter is, but you don't have to tell them the truth. At this point, the player you've passed it to can either claim you're lying, claim you're telling the truth, or look at the card and pass it on to another person. If they choose one of the first two options and they're right, you get the card back face up in front of you.
I'm passing you a bat.
I think you're lying. Now there's actually no winner in this game, just a loser, the person who gets 4 of the same critter in front of them first. It's a really fun, quick little party game, especially when you've had a few drinks. It's a game that doesn't do much, but does what it wants to do incredibly well. For that, it's a B tier. Ooga booga. Ooga booga. Articulate is the kind of word-guessing game that almost everyone has already played. In it, you're given a set of cards that have words on them, and you're tasked to get your team to guess as many of them from a category as possible in a 30-second interval. This is a game where the actual game is ancillary to the experience. No one really cares who wins or loses, but Articulate facilitates an enjoyable time through the perceived competition. The game will always provide a laugh, an inside joke, or a good time.
Casino. Drunk. Pissed. Slosh.
When you're like super drunk, like you're super drunk, you can't even stand up, you're super...
Blackout drunk.
No, you're like super, you can't even stand up, you're just falling over everything. You are... It was shit-faced.
What? What?
Yeah, it's a bit of a normie game, but Articulate is incredibly fun with the right people. B tier. Patchwork is a 2-player treat. You spend your turns buying patches from a shared market to craft the most complete kit by the end of the game. The most impressive thing about this game is it is always fun, even if you lose. Hell, I even had fun playing this game against myself with a time lapse here. It's such a non-threatening game with such a non-threatening theme and such tight gameplay and decision making that it's fun just to take part. I mean, all you're doing is competing to make the cutest little blanket. Well, almost. Hidden behind its sweet surface level charm and its fun cutesy board game theme, this board game has the potential to be absolutely brutal. If you like to play games competitively, this game is incredibly cutthroat. The most important thing in this game isn't having a nice quilt at the end, it's having a nicer quilt than your opponent. So buying patches from the shared market becomes just as much about denying the opponent from their pieces as it is about getting the good pieces for yourself. Patchwork is a remarkable little 2-player game. It should be one of the first 2-player games that any board gamer gets. It's an S from me. In the 5 to 10 player social deduction game of the Resistance, players are given a secret role card of either a member of the Resistance or as a spy. Throughout the course of the game, players will elect teams of those they trust the most to carry out secret operations. However, if a spy has been elected onto the team, they will have the option of sabotaging the mission, resulting in a failure for everyone. If 3 missions succeed before 3 missions have been sabotaged, the Resistance wins. I won't lie to you, this game isn't for everyone. People yell, lie, and accuse you of lying for 20 minutes straight while you either figure out who the actual spies are, or who to throw under the bus if you are a spy. This game undoubtedly causes some of the most heated gamer moments in board gaming history. Now, I'm not at liberty to say whether this game is better than other social deduction games like Secret Hitler or Werewolf, but Resistance is an A-class game, held back by only the fact that after a while, a long while, the game can get somewhat formulaic, and because this game definitely isn't for everybody. However, I earnestly believe that everyone should give this game a shot. It leads to some of the most interesting experiences you'll ever have. Blokus is an absolute masterpiece of design. Want to hear the rules? Place block. I don't have one bad word to say about this incredible feat of board gaming history. Legitimately the best game I own. I don't know why my friends all don't like it anymore. If you get the opportunity, get at least one copy. I can't stop recommending this game to people. Help. I actually can't. Help me. Please. Someone help me. Stop.
The prophecy is true.
If only there was some way of me placing the piece while simultaneously stopping my opponent from placing theirs. When you block